I've always thought that working hard and working smart would be able to help me achieve my goals. However, now I'm at a point in my life where I'm actually questioning if the goals I have are still goals that I even want to achieve. I think for a long time now, I've had a slight undertone or underlying fear that I've constantly been stomping down, which is thinking about whether what I'm doing now with my life is actually what I want to do and if it really aligns with me as a person. I think one of my biggest regrets that I definitely don't want to have is being in my 50s or 60s, looking back on my youth and thinking, wow, I wish I did this thing, or I wish I took up that opportunity. And it's not generally because we haven't been presented with those opportunities. From my experience at least, it's more so just not really knowing if those are the goals I actually want to achieve and if those are the things that are going to help me get there in the first place. And the more I think about it, I don't want to be that person who lets myself down in the future. 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it doesn't matter. I've been thinking about this for almost 2 years now, and there are a lot of things I've learned about myself, but also about the way that I want to live my life to make sure that I'm not the person who let myself down. And by figuring out how to set real goals for myself, I've started to learn a lot more about how I'm going to not let myself down in the future. I think it's really important to set goals for yourself. And they don't have to be incredibly deep, they don't have to be incredibly long or very ambitious either. They just need to keep you on track and keep you aware of the decisions you're making in your life and where you want to end up in the future. For me, the reason why I want to set goals in the first place is to entice me to become the person it takes to actually achieve those goals. I want to make sure that I am the best version of myself. And I don't expect that I will always be the best version of myself in any single second of the day or of the week or of the year, but it's more so that I am trying to reach that goal. As I learned more about myself and tried to figure out how I'm not going to wake up one day and have a bit of a midlife crisis, I've also learned a few things that I feel like you could also benefit from if you're in a similar position as me. Something that's really important to me personally is to make sure that any goal that I have is deeply connected to my core personal values. I don't think there's any point setting goals based on external pressures because ultimately they don't tend to be meaningful. And when they're not meaningful and challenges arise, it can make it really hard to stick to those goals. And often this just starts up a huge cycle of, guilt tripping when you aim to do something, but then you can't achieve it because it wasn't really like something that you wanted to do. And then you feel bad about not trying, but then you also feel bad because you're not achieving it. And then that tends to cycle and cycle and cycle and cycle. The next thing is to set realistic expectations. Often, when we're setting goals, it's not because we're setting a goal to do something we've achieved before. Most of the time, people set goals to do something new, something maybe big, something maybe small. But either way, it's new. And when something is new, it means that there's going to be a learning curve. And often what happens is people get trapped in a sea of perfectionism. Even me right now, this is one of my first YouTube videos, but I spent so much time agonizing over it because I wanted to be perfect. But if I want to start, it's a process and it'll take a long time to learn. So I need to be able to step back and understand that it's not going to go great the first time around, maybe even the second, maybe even the third. One way that helped me set realistic expectations was to do something called reverse goal setting. And I can get more into it later in time, but essentially you set your goal and you work backwards and figure out all the steps you need to take in reverse order for you to be able to achieve your goal. Now, by doing this, you're going to be able to see, okay, well, realistically, how much time is each step going to take me? And is that something actually achievable for the time I've set for my goal? If it isn't in an ideal time span, then you might need to rethink how much time you've allocated towards that goal, and yeah, set better expectations and kinder expectations for yourself so you don't end up disappointing yourself and letting yourself down. Which brings me to my third point, the feelings around doing new stuff. Typically, when you're doing something new, it's hard. You're going to fail, but you need to be kind to yourself. If you constantly berate yourself, have negative thoughts about why the new thing you're trying is not working out very early in the stages, it's not going to help you get so far. Honestly, I would say you should be failing in your first few tries. You should be making lots of mistakes, and it's okay if those mistakes happen, because every single one is an opportunity to reflect on why those things happened and what you're going to do in the future to stop those things from happening. These are all just experiences, and the more of these experiences we have, good or bad, the better we're going to be in the future, as long as you reflect on it. These are the things I learned while trying to achieve some really big goals in these last few years. Now, these goals have been huge destinations for me, but what I want you to remember is that the journey is just as important as the destination, but what's even more important than either of those things is the person you become on the journey, because that's what we're here for.